O DSM é a bíblia da psiquiatria. Então, de certa maneira, os psiquiatras dependem, né, de toda aquela normatização.
Por que foi criado um DSM, para a gente entender? Porque quando um cirurgião brasileiro aqui fala que ele operou um apêndice, o japonês entende imediatamente o que ele fez. Então, como é que você conseguiria criar uma linguagem comum no mundo inteiro quando eu falasse de uma depressão maior ou de um transtorno bipolar, um alemão me entendesse, um americano entendesse, inclusive para isso fazer estudos, perfeito? É para isso que foi criado.
Se eu pegar um estudo científico dos Estados Unidos que fala sobre depressão e pegar um estudo científico da África ou do Brasil ou da Europa, quando a pessoa citasse a palavra depressão, eu saberia que ela estaria falando dos critérios diagnósticos que estão contidos no DSM.
And by the way, Jeffrey Lieberman, former president of the American Psychiatric Association, he wrote a book not too long ago and he said, I think DSM-3 is the most important book written and published in the United States for the past 70 years. And he wasn't just talking about a book within psychiatry, he meant any book. And I agree. DSM-3 is the most important book published in the United States and maybe around the world in the last 70 years. And the reason I say that is because it profoundly shaped who we are, how our societies think, how we raise our children, and so forth.
The controversy regarding the myth of mental illness and psychiatry is not about science or medicine, it's about power. What do we know that is true, that the cult of psychiatry keeps telling us is false? First, the idea that there is a known brain lesion causing mental illness. The truth is, we cannot tell who is mentally ill and who is not by looking at pictures of their brains or analyzing their blood. Psychiatrists had to invent their own book of diseases because pathologists would have nothing to do with them. It's called the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders, the DSM, a great work of fiction. What's the difference between the DSM and a scientific book of disease? Every disorder in the DSM is invented. Every disease listed in a pathology textbook is discovered. Real disease is found in a cadaver at autopsy. Mental illness is not. Mental illness refers to something that a person does. Real disease refers to something that a person has. Consider this yet another way. It takes one person to have a real disease. It takes two people to have a mental illness.
The genesis was that in the 1970s, the American Psychiatric Association felt itself under attack. It talked about, are we going to survive as a medical discipline? Psychiatrists at this time still did a lot of talk therapy, psychoanalytic therapy. But we had all sorts of other people offering talk therapy too, counselors, psychologists. So there was a crowded marketplace for talk therapy services. You add all that up together, and psychiatry says to ourselves, how can we move forward? How can we present ourselves to society in a way that presents ourselves as real doctors? And there was even talk about, we have to put on the white coat being the dress of the infectious disease doctor. So we need to rebrand ourselves. DSM-3 was a rebranding effort. So what they said is, in the past, we didn't really know what the cause of these things are. Many of them were just neuroses, and neuroses are responses to environments. We're going to say no. These things are illnesses of the brain. They reside inside you, and they're diseases, and they're separate diseases. Schizophrenia is as different from depression and as different from bipolar as cancer is from cardiovascular disease. That was the idea.